Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SafeHouse. I'm Jeff Edwards, co-founder of SafeHouse Initiative and your host for today's podcast. Enjoy. In the last episode, our conversations with Davis Haig, we were talking about the elements of risk management. And the first two he talked about was you can either mitigate, basically address, try to avoid it. And the other one is to transfer or to secure an insurance policy, basically. Well, today we're going to take a look at how you can combine both of those. And we're really fortunate to have the head of global cyber for Coalition, Michael Phillips, come and talk to us about how he perceives things. And as a thought leader in this particular area, it's just going to be a fascinating conversation. So, hey, Michael, welcome to the Safe House.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. I couldn't be more excited to talk to you and to your listeners at the Safe House. Longtime fan and supporter of the initiative. Such a wonderful mission that you've been pursuing. And yeah, looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, no, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. So, hey, first time on the show, a long time listener, first time on the show. So, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us about your journey, how you got to be such a successful guy and thought leader in this particular realm.
Well, thank you. The cyber insurance industry is at an unusual crossroads, and I suppose as is so common in insurance, the crossroads that led me to where I am here, getting to talk to you, is a bit long and winding, but it's starting to make sense to me as I look back on it.
Hmm.
I'll start with, I went to graduate school in London, where I studied war studies, and there, I walked around the cobblestone streets and the skyscrapers of the city of London, wondering what all these firms were doing, studying risk, assessing risk, and
Hmm.
and then providing risk transfer for their clients. After I got out of school, I was a lawyer, working with companies after the worst week of their operational lives. Getting breached, having that kind of cybersecurity crisis, and that kind of changed my thinking around insurance permanently.
Hmm.
I stopped thinking about it so much about as a coverage as a contractual abstraction, and started thinking about it as really the infrastructure that can help a company bounce back
Hmm.
and survive when they've got the right policy and the right response team. I'm currently the leader in underwriting at Coalition, but
Hmm.
my career also spans cyber insurance claims and incident response. Watching and helping companies recover from major events uh, was so fulfilling, and so getting the chance to design the insurance and security products that can make them more resilient in the first place has really been a very fulfilling mission for me. And I'm so excited to share my experience with you today.
Yeah, so with all those different roles you've had, claims, I mean, kind of the cradle to the grave experience, you really look at this whole area of cybersecurity and risk management for cyber is a more holistic in nature, not just the insurance or not just the, build an infrastructure that protects. It's kind of a holistic approach.
I think that's right. As organizations of every kind, every type, every size, small community organizations as well as the biggest institutions in the world digitize their operations as they rely more and more on computer systems. Their resilience is really entwined with both their commercial incentives
Mhm.
or their and the public interest. And so, the opportunity to think through sort of the collective resilience that we all need in a world where flood and fire are still dangers,
Mhm.
but we have FEMA and fire departments. But now cyber is a prevalent danger, and what is that infrastructure that protects our communities? Really, I find extraordinarily motivating, and and again, insurance feels like it's at a crossroads when it comes to what can we do? Are we just risk transfer, as you set out in the beginning of our chat?
Yeah, so how do you start in terms of where does mitigation and transfer how do they blend together and how do you delineate to invest more in one than the other?
Sure. So at Coalition, we really think about this in terms of what we call active insurance.
Okay.
And active insurance is really meant to signal that we want to provide a comprehensive and unified approach to help organizations of every size against the threat of cybersecurity attacks, and threats to data privacy and to computer systems. So a traditional insurance policy might be a piece of paper that a contract that offers sort of the ability to pay or a promise to pay if something were to go wrong. So you're just sort of on your own. You endure the event. You collect all of your receipts. God bless you, and then you send them on to the insurance company, and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
With active insurance, with the combination of risk mitigation and risk transfer that your listeners have been hearing about from prior episodes, we really want to think more holistically from before the bad thing even happens, how we can prevent it from happening in the first place, mitigate it if it does happen, to make sure that the best possible response is available to minimize the impact, speed up the recovery, and then, of course, to cover the event, to give peace of mind and of course, financial protection following an event. So that's in the abstract how we imagine active insurance functioning. And when we think about it in the flesh, what does it mean? So we are scanning our clients' architecture from the outside in, and we're looking for vulnerabilities, those broken windows, those unlocked doors where the bad guys might try to get in. We're providing warnings and advice about how to keep them out, how to lock those doors again, close those windows, build the fence if necessary. And then we are available 24/7 to provide emergency expertise at the point of response to mitigate the threats as they may manifest. And then, of course, to provide the traditional infrastructure of insurance. I'll just call out one more thing, Jeff. I mean, nobody loves their insurance company as a citizen, just sort of walking around, right? Like, no, the best insurance often is sort of invisible architecture. You just know at the end of all of the care you're going to receive, that the bills will be paid properly.
Yeah.
And so with active insurance, the way that we think about it is we're deploying technology and security experts to give you all the care that you need, and then the insurance component just kind of lives seamlessly as infrastructure in the background, paying for things while you make sure you're getting up and running, your business back up and running, your community servicing its clients and its organizations as much as it can.
Would you consider that, from my experience, I'm not a insurance person per se, I'm more of a resilience guy, but so, what I've learned, what has struck me interestingly is that as I've learned about insurance over the last 3 or 4 years, is that cyber seems to be extremely embracing of technologies and other services, much more so than traditional property and casualty type of insurance policies. They seem to be expanding out their panels, the authorized companies that they recommend or you could talk to mitigate some of your risk. But it seems like the cyber insurance industry is still in the earlier stages of developing, and they seem to be much more adventurous in bringing in a broader solution set than traditional insurance. Is that a good view of things? But that's just my impression.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jeff. Taking us back to that younger, handsomer version of myself that was walking around Lloyd's as a student.
Yeah.
Lloyd's is 300 years old, and the insurance industry is even older. And so with cyber insurance, it's a rare line of business or a rare risk that the insurance industry is willing to invest in and experiment with. The product, the cyber insurance product, is only about 25 years old. And of course, it's meant to address the most cutting edge risks that organizations face. But on top of that, it's also a wonderful playground for insurance companies to think more actively about how they can be a relevant partner in an organization's resilience journey. I've been very frustrated in years past where cyber insurance has not presented to communities, to small businesses, to cybersecurity experts as a partner in broader resilience, which I know you're an expert on. And I think that a lot of the investments that Coalition is making and that some of our peers are making to be more active in the way that they think about risk is really wonderful. But it is an innovation for insurance, which has historically thought exclusively about the contract and the indemnity payment at the end of the proof of loss process.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's only been in the last few years that this mitigation and transfer started to wed together. Is that a correct statement?
I think that in the last few years there has been an extraordinary acceleration in the amount
Oh.
of webbing together. The first service connection to a cyber policy probably is a bit older than that, but really thinking
Hmm.
comprehensively about, well, what vulnerabilities can we see from the outside? How
Hmm.
does that impact the policy that we're going to
Hmm.
negotiate? What kind
Hmm.
of continuous monitoring and service can we offer to prevent bad things from happening?
Hmm.
And then how can we be right there to deploy expertise if something bad happens? That's pretty new. And, I think we're doing better at it every day, and our clients are recovering faster. They're less likely to pay ransom, and they're happier with their cyber insurance, which is great, because ultimately, if they need it, it better work, and it better protect them, and it better pay out when it does.
Now, from your claims experience, that gives you a unique experience, I think, or feedback loop back into underwriting, what you're doing today. Because what I've noticed in many of the larger carriers, it's claims is kind of siloed from the underwriting. They really don't talk or feedback loops to each other. Is that something that you advocate as a strong tie together from the claims feedback loop and saying, hey, we can do this better because I have some empirical data here that could help us on the underwriting side?
I think you're exactly right, Jeff. And I'm not. I wouldn't call myself a pioneer in advocating for that, but I certainly live it every day. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of my claims experience and the lessons you learn from claims. Surely you learn facts about what went wrong that might mitigate a future loss or might help you assess the loss that might happen in the future. If that flywheel doesn't exist, then you're not really underwriting successfully. You're just
Yeah.
kind of guessing and gambling. You're in a prediction market maybe, but you're not really doing underwriting in an expert way. Um, I also think the claims experience brings you as close to the client as you can get. The insurance
Mhm.
market, as an industry, we're pretty complicated. We're intermediated by brokers often, sometimes
Mhm.
multiple layers of brokers
Mhm.
who are
Mhm.
wonderful experts in their own right. But what it might mean for an underwriter is that they've never really talked to the end client and really sat there with them and experienced the cyber attack firsthand. And what the claims experience gives you I think the opportunity to feel the pain of a client that is going through a ransomware attack,
Mhm.
a community or a school district that has to shut down because of what's gone wrong, vulnerable employees, students, citizens, whatever the case may be, and to appreciate that if this is going to work and deliver on the promise, it not only about the payment, but it's about the act of protection, and the human factor. And so that certainly comes into my underwriting. That it's a very common trope to say that claims experts are often bad underwriters because they're scared to underwrite any risk at all. They've seen so many terrible things.
Yeah.
Certainly, that's not my approach. I want to extend active protection to as many clients as I can. And I think it makes me and our team better to have that feedback loop where we're really extracting, hard data technologically, and then we can loop that back into our underwriting and our protection.
I'd love to get your perspective on something that's perplexed a lot of folks I've talked to on the show and just in my daily life. That the small mid-sized businesses, the take-up rate for a standalone cyber policy is very low in the single digits. I've heard as low as 4 to 8%. And I would imagine that an approach like well, I'll just use your term, active insurance, might be better because their limited dollars could go a lot further by mitigating and transferring risk at the same time. Is that your experience, or you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think your question and your hypothesis are so important, and I'm happy just to be part of any conversation where this is taking place.
Hmm.
Cyber is a pervasive risk, and what do we do in society with pervasive risks to protect
Hmm.
our neighbors, to protect communities, to protect small businesses? we pool those risks and we manage them together.
Yep.
There's a number of ways you could do it, but we always come together as a community. We pool the risk together. We study it. We think about the best way to defend ourselves from it, and we move forward. And so, with cyber being so prevalent, every computer, that we're using,
Mhm.
every organization relying upon their internet connection to deliver for their clients, and we're not selling cyber insurance, or cyber insurance is not part of the recipe of a resilient community.
Yeah.
It absolutely drives me crazy. And the question of why that is the case is just so important. And so to me, the hypothesis probably starts with it being a communication failure on of the insurance industry. We're not doing enough to talk to small businesses who are the backbone of every economy and
Yeah.
every community, and tell them about how they are disproportionately targeted by ransomware campaigns and ransomware
Hmm.
bad guys. And
Hmm.
um, you know, we're not making the costs clear and visible and obvious to them that if they're not well protected, both with security and with insurance, that they could go out of business, or have to lay off employees, or
Yeah.
fail their clients and lose clients to a competitor, or
Mhm.
worse, as we've seen. The low adoption is fixable to me. I think the product does deliver well, and for clients who go through a claim, their experience is very positive. It's reliably positive. I think we're doing a good job with those clients who we've convinced active cyber insurance can be a partner to them. But so many businesses, organizations don't understand their risk. They don't appreciate that even insurance for these types of risks exists. They confuse inadequate kind of bolt-on endorsements with real active protection. And
Yeah.
then they don't know that they're scared to talk about their cybersecurity as well. So they're not being well served by folks who can talk to both of these things. And so that's why we're so excited about what we think active insurance can bring, which is, we need to talk to you about your cybersecurity. There are steps you can take to be more secure. And for the worst case scenario, the rainy day fund, it is in the insurance as well. And we've got to do better, because 4%, 5% in 2026
Yeah.
is absurd. It's absurd.
It is. I think part of what I've discovered too is that the broker community, all the various layers,
Mhm.
maybe the education layer is not comfortable for a lot of the brokers that sell a lot of different kinds of insurance. But even if they sell cyber insurance, sometimes it may not be technically comfortable and having the conversation. So maybe cocktail conversational aptitude levels of training for the broker community, is that an area that you think would help also raise that
You know,
percentage up?
Jeff, I'd love to ask you that question as well. So be
Hmm.
ready to respond to my answer with your answer.
You got it.
I guess I think about it in two ways. On the one hand, we absolutely need to support agents and brokers in becoming confident and more expert in cyber, sufficient to materially articulate what the problem is and what the solution is, and make them confident communicators. But
Yeah.
I also do worry that we, in a rush to show off how much cybersecurity expertise we have,
Yeah.
that we speak in too much jargon. We use too many fancy acronyms. We show off the power of our technology at the risk of alienating someone who is a harried small business owner who's
Yep.
afraid
Yep.
and who needs it put into plain terms. So I definitely think there's a mix of upskilling or supporting, enabling our brokers to speak cyber, but also making the language of cyber more accessible is also super important. So maybe those two things sound like they're in conflict. I don't know what you think, Jeff, but I'd love to know.
Yeah, no, we rolled the tape back about 3.5 years ago when we were talking to the insurance community for the first time. One of the things we discovered that can you help us with educating? Because you guys know a lot about resilience. Can you help us educate our insureds? But we didn't realize that as we built the Safe House initiative, that it wasn't about the end user customer or the policyholders that maybe needed a bit of education or comfort level. It became the brokers, because we have a lot of brokers that listen to this my podcast, our podcast, I should say. Yeah. So I think there's a real thirst and need for it, and it's got to be conversational, like cocktail conversational, easy to bring up, easy to make sense out of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When I think about the most successful agents and brokers, whether they are in a small town and they are, sort of they inherited the business from their grandfather who underwrote the local hospital on all
Mhm.
of its risks in the war, or the most skyscraper the most skyscraper driven
Mhm.
broker in New York City, they're able to communicate to their audience, and they can make it easy to talk, easy to listen, easy to talk to. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, you're talking about pervasive risk and everybody kind of pooling their money and then, protecting and helping each other. AI is a whole new area that's still in the early primordial stages. It's happening, but it's not at production level across the board. It's not a pervasively production orientation. And I know that AI is on the lips of every insurance carrier I've talked to. And what are your thoughts on how AI is going to drive new behaviors, especially in risk transfer and mitigation?
Sure. So every conversation has to have an AI conversation in it, an AI question in it, and that's because AI is eating the software that's eating the world. I think
Yeah.
you know AI is becoming incorporated into every workflow. It is
Mhm.
every organization is experimenting with how they can use it. And so there's an instinct that um, alongside all the optimism about what AI can bring, that the insurance market is going to need to change radically to address it. And I'm
Mhm.
not sure that's the case. So let's think about what bad things AI can do, what risks can it cause. Well, certainly
Mhm.
from the point of view of cybersecurity criminals, AI has industrialized many of their operations. It's
Mhm.
industrialized social engineering. The phishing email that used to be laughably obvious, bad grammar, poor spelling,
Mhm.
silly princes, and
Mhm.
fake personas. Now they're indistinguishable from the real message you get
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
from your treasurer, your CFO.
Mhm.
We see voice cloning now. We see deep fake videos.
Mhm.
The cost of targeting an individual has collapsed as well, which means that small businesses that were previously perhaps below the threshold of viability for an attacker are now really squarely in the crosshairs because
Mhm.
they can just take AI driven software and create very convincing social engineering and other cybersecurity scams. Um, you know, the what I worry about right now in day one of AI, if I can say that, is
Mhm.
that we're thinking too much about just the ways in which AI can deceive people to send money away. That's sort of what
Uh-huh.
the insurance market today is best at covering. We'll say, hey, did you get phished? Yes, I did. Was it an AI-driven phishing email? Yes, it was. How much money did you send away? Okay, it's covered. That
Mhm.
conversation happens today. But what I worry about it not happening enough today is all of the other types of permutations that deepfake technology can, all the other types of harms that deepfake technology can cause.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, harms to trust, harms to a business's credibility, harm to the integrity of an organization. If you create a video of that's convincing of the CEO saying something horrible, that can have lasting harm to a brand's reputation, to the enterprise value, to trust within the organization and without of it. Which is why for Coalition, we launched our deepfake response endorsement,
Mhm.
which is not just about the financial loss associated with social engineering that might be powered by AI, but it brings to bear a whole suite of technical experts who investigate deepfakes,
Yeah.
lawyers who can take them down from internet platforms, and then crisis communicators who can help make sure that that trust is restored to the organization. So those are a couple things I think about on the day one. And in
Mhm.
the longer term, it's just so exciting to think about the ways in which AI can help facilitate the kinds of conversations, Jeff, that you and I are talking about. Help
Yeah.
clarify things,
Yeah.
help an organization advocate for themselves and articulate what they need, and help insurance providers better assess risk and then help thwart risks before they become reality.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. And to me, I think an insurance policy is like engaging a great partner if you do it right.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I know it's I get teased sometimes for saying this, but you know, insurance is a very mission-driven industry. We're
Mm,
our job, if we're doing it right and we're going to be successful in the long term, is to protect people from threats that that there might not be public recourse to get protection from. And so to me, the opportunity to sort of fulfill that mission alongside folks like yourself, Jeff, is super fulfilling, and I think we're at the beginning of the middle of
mm.
cyber insurance's evolution.
Yeah, so one thing I always ask, Michael, of our guests is if there's one actionable thing that our audience could do today to improve their cybersecurity position or their risk management posture, what would that one thing be?
Okay. So, how many of your guests try to wedge in more than one when you ask for the one?
Well, I would say at least 100%.
Okay, well, in that case, I feel no shame in similarly trying to
Well,
offer
okay,
three.
okay, 90%. How's that? So you have a
All right.
10%.
In that case, I feel a little bit of shame. So the
Okay.
one thing, all right. So the one thing that I would ask every listener uh, to um, to look at that can help them on their journey to be more resilient from cybersecurity threats is read the Ransomware Task Force's Blueprint for Ransomware Defense. So the Ransomware Task Force is an organization that I co-chair and that convened folks from a lot of different walks of life, from national security experts in the government to law enforcement to cybersecurity experts to technology firms and community advocates as well. And one of our work products is this Blueprint for Ransomware Defense. It is free. It is written in plain language. It's available in 4 languages. It's aligned to very traditional cybersecurity frameworks like the NIST framework. So it's
Mhm.
well vetted on a cybersecurity perspective. We have evaluated it against real claims data as well. Some insurance companies contributed to the design of the blueprint for ransomware defense. It's available on the internet. It is built specifically for small organizations. It identifies a series of steps that are no cost or low cost, and these few steps can make a small organization materially harder to attack with ransomware. Ransomware economics, the bad guys' economics, really do depend on a large population of soft targets. So if
Mhm.
we all work together, we take steps like the simple and straightforward ones in the blueprint for ransomware defense, we can reduce the soft target population and we all change the economics together. And that's how collective action works. Just like pooling, just like insurance, just like cybersecurity defense more broadly.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, and so making each other stronger helps each of us as an individual too.
Well, Michael, I tell you what, what a great conversation, and we'll have more in the future if you were willing to make your way back and join us again.
Well, Jeff, anytime. I couldn't be prouder to get to chat with you and the Safe House Initiative, of course. Just so much important work, and we need to protect our communities and drive this kind of education home. So anytime I can help, please let me know.
Thank you, Michael. On behalf of the Safe House Initiative and all of our listeners, I greatly appreciate you. That's our episode. We greatly appreciate you joining us and hope it was a wonderful learning experience. I'm your host, Jeff Edwards, and remember, be safe, be resilient, and be kind to each other. For more educational materials, please visit us at safehouseinitiative.org. All materials are free from tracking, promotions, memberships, or fees of any kind. Safe House Initiative is an all-volunteer organization.